Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Hand of Fate 2. So, last time we finished just right on the dot with the lovers and got gold, so today we'll do the chariot.
The symbol of victory over oppression, control and will. Properties I understand well, and you will learn.
So a plague of corruption is spreading through the downtrodden denizens in Old City. Aid Australia and her loyal soldiers and find a way for the citizens to escape. So in the previous mission, we ran into an event where we just had to side with the Empire. It didn't even give us a choice to kill infected and just poor people in general who had been infected with this corruption. Now it seems like we are not going to be given a choice again, but we're going to play in the other way. I think that's a pretty smart twist there. Almost certainly it was a reaction to how playtesters would have responded to that one event in the previous mission, without opening up the game to be just an open narrative Dungeons and Dragons type experience where you could, anything you can think or say within some small rule sets can be thought, can be played.
Forever.
So,
make a choice.
Infestation. Defeat as many corrupted as possible to find the source of the plague. Precision. You'll need to demonstrate great precision in order to win the day and rescue wagons. Save innocent townfolk to access more stock and options at camp. So of our companions, there's, I don't know, really a great choice here amongst the companions. Yeah. So we could play as the bounty hunter, or we could play as the trickster, and we haven't played with the trickster in a while, so I guess we'll pick him. And then the events we're gonna go for here, we have Burrow Barrow, Goblin Retainer. Can't do that one. We can do this one, we can't do that one. We can do this one. We know this one's really dangerous. And let's see. Unrest and Iron Peak. Seems like it offers a lot of options, but let's do new things instead. And then the thought here is just to figure out what in particular may be useful. Let's see, exploring the wilds, peasant son. Yeah, so that still leaves us with a decent amount of cards that we don't know what they do. It does kind of feel like the pace of unlocking event cards in particular has started to kind of slow down, and a lot of these, once you get your reward, you would have to rethink about whether or not it's really worth playing these event cards. I don't believe there's just this one Precision Fallen Treasure card that uses the precision mechanic. Otherwise it seems like the vast majority of these events don't use the precision mechanic. And we've only seen one of these silver cards, so I imagine that there's probably not that many of them. Maybe less than 5 in the whole game. So we'll continue. So we want something that would defeat corrupted, so let's inspect things. This would defeat thieves. This is new, so we should take that. Let's see. Now, Holy doesn't defeat corrupted. And I don't know if this is Northerners you want to fight. This would just be defending attacks, which we've done that 5 times. Okay. And so we'll take new cards. This is skeletons. We'll take that since it has a reward on it. We'll take that. This is a decent map reveal. Take that. Take that. Take that. Well, actually, those two are just kind of the same thing, so let's not take that one. And then there are just some really good cards here in the, let's see, not the Blessed Life, plus 10 max life, or the Ring of Food can be very helpful, but more often than not the Gambler's Jewel is what I think you're going to want. Alright. And so then I guess if we're fighting corrupted, we think about what we want to start with. Thieves, shadows are probably not considered corrupted. Northerners, take something new. Reveals shop encounters at the start of each thing. View the cards of the wheel gambit. Those two are not really worth it. So the move probably is to take things that will fight thieves, because it seems like you're always just going to fight thieves. But I'm just going to start with 10 gold and see if that works pretty well. But yeah, you definitely are spending like an extra 10 minutes before you start even playing with this deck building.
My power keeps it at bay. But these are the seals that Callus has attempted and failed to place upon my return.
Interesting. So the backstory here is that the corruption we keep fighting is from Callus, and we're assuming that Callus is the hero we played as in the first game and defeated this bad guy. And you can see in his arms, he does have like this corruption in his arms. And we can see in the cards, in the top right, there is corruption in the cards. So there may be a whole second gameplay mechanic here that happens where we beat the game once and then corruption goes away and then the events happen in a different way or even more powerful. If that is the case, that would be very interesting, but it would be way too much game. Really, it already feels like there's way too much game here. At least for the way you'd normally play a game.
I've waited
playing it for just like a couple of weeks and then eventually moving on for a single player game, or if this was a multiplayer game where you could play against other players, which that would have been an interesting twist if they had added some kind of player versus player element where you could, one player plays as the narrator, one player plays as the player. But yeah, without a player versus player or online element, a game like this really shouldn't go on forever. So, Sir Malifaux looks down from the back of his steed at the soldiers lined in rank and file before him. The city is lost to the plague, he says dryly. We will not waste another soldier on this place. He gives the final command. In the name of the Empire, prepare to withdraw. Block the gatehouse, let no one through. At sunrise, burn the city to the ground. Without hesitation, the soldiers march down to the cobbled street toward the western gatehouse. A single soldier remains, a captain. She removes her helm to reveal a coif of golden hair and an eye patch concealing a wound from a battle long ago. She approaches you in Malaclips. Many innocent people will die come morning if nothing is done to correct this injustice, she says. I ask that you aid my men in their search for citizens to escort out of this old city. Hurry nightfall approaches. Find and rescue citizens and escort them out of the city. So our seemingly only gold option is to save 60 citizens. That's kind of a big number. Let's ask some question. See, that's the soldier talking there, and she obviously is a companion character we're going to unlock. Nightfall approaches. Make it quick. Ask who she is. I'm Captain Fiore, she says with a bow. I've been commanding my regiment on the northern border. My troops and I recalled to Old City, and we're ready to march back to the capital. However, it appears the Empire has neglected its people in our absence. I cannot abandon those who we have sworn to protect. Ask about the plan. I anticipate Malthal's intentions, and my scouts have made preparations. To the southwest is a gatehouse abandoned when the infected broke through. We can clear the corrupted from this district. We can escort any citizens through with minimal resistance. Interesting, so we now have a new location that's been revealed before the cards have even been placed. Ask if it can be done alone. Fear not. There are soldiers that remember the virtue of the Empire who remain loyal to our people. I have a number of scouts searching the streets for citizens as we speak. They will assist where they can. Ask about the plague. A terrible tragedy to be sure. While the Empire's eye is on the northern border, it has abandoned its people to this unnatural plague. Do not be fooled. This is no ordinary malady. Its affliction maddens and warps the minds of those it corrupts, turning family, friend, or lover into mindless agent of hate and aggression. The Empire's right to fear its rapid spread and potential reach. However, there are many who call this city home who have not been damned, not yet. It is these souls I intend to save this night. And then ask about Old City. The Old City was once a hub of the world's great artisans, traders, or artisans, traders, merchants, would travel from far and wide to sell their wares here. While it still houses many, it is a shadow of its former glory, a muddle of streets, and in the light of plague, many roads have been blocked. So, this is kind of a great example of, on a second playthrough, you would ask about the plan and nothing else, because all of that other backstory is just unnecessary and did add about 5 minutes of reading at the very beginning, slowing down the pace of the game. Begin the quest. My coachman will follow and transport any citizens you might find along the way. If you're lucky, they may be of assistance in your travels. Search the streets and kill the infected. I will send word when the way is cleared. Saved citizens will add options at the campfire. So, what would be really silly is to not camp ever. So we can either go to the city streets or the city streets. Seems like it probably doesn't matter one way or the other, so let's go down.
Everywhere the rot touches, and everywhere bears its stains.
Tall buildings line the streets, their lower windows boarded up with planks of wood on imperial order, a futile attempt to hinder the spread of the plague.
What are you sacrificing when you stop to help them? Have you asked yourself that?
You happen upon a group of frightened peasants desperately seeking safety. Where the Empire has abandoned the city, they cry, please help us. The sacrifice there, he's asking, as an unreliable narrator, as the bad guy, the narrator is asking, would there be something else possibly beneficial directly to you that you could have happen instead of doing a good deed to which you will only be paid in valor or in the self-worth of doing a good deed? But the problem with that argument is that if you can do good, you should always do good. This is a philosophy thought, basically. And you should never avoid doing good for the possibility of doing greater good or doing good that would benefit you. Or you shouldn't buy into nonsense religious type beliefs of evolution when you are a Now, how do I explain this? Evolution in the sense that you should just leave the poor to be poor. It's called social Darwinism is the right term, now that I think about it. Yeah. There are people who have, rich people mostly, who've convinced themselves in the religious belief it's a kind of like a religious belief of social Darwinism, that the poor should just be left poor and that they should pull themselves up by their bootstraps and they should help themselves, and that a rich person is morally obligated to only make themselves more rich or only make the shareholders of his business more rich, and that the more richness he does for himself, the more good he somehow does for society. Although how they ever explain that by making themselves rich they're doing any good for society is ridiculous. It is egoism to the extreme. Sure, rich people will donate to charities, but mostly they're donating to charities to avoid paying taxes. And on the smaller level, they are usually exploiting poor people and poor people's labor through employment to make money, to then only pay a small percentage of what they exploited from the poor people to a charity that would then take a cut and pay even a smaller percentage back to poor people. It's a scam. It never could possibly work. A true rich man, if he wanted to do good and owned a business, would raise his employees' wages, would just hire more people. And that would be the most direct, easiest way for him to directly do something good. But he won't think that way. He'll go, well, I need this money in our treasury in case I think of some great new idea or have another opportunity to do something to make the business grow and pay myself more money in the meanwhile. That was a long, kind of awkward rant, sorry. But it's an important thing to point out, too. That if you want to be a moral person, if you can do good, instantaneously, unquestionably do good. Don't contemplate it. Don't worry about the side effects. Don't worry if something else could happen. Just do what you can. And we're probably going to have these kinds of decisions in this mission a lot of times, although in this case it wasn't really a decision. He explained Captain Fiore's plan and helped him on the wagon. There's 8 citizens already, so that probably means we're looking at somewhere around that'd be 5 to 7 events that we have to do. We are grateful, a woman says as she steps down into the carriage. I haven't much food, but should you need some, I would be willing to trade. More food is available at the campfire. From the street you can see other paths. Okay, so this now reveals more paths. So this mission is different in that we're going to see where we're going, and I don't think that's because I have any kind of item equipped. Let's see what Soothsayer does.
Learn the future at your own peril. You think I have not turned to oracles and auguries in order to see how this ends? I only know it all ends in death.
You're about to embark on a quest for the mayor of a small town when a young, strangely dressed woman shouts to you, "Beware, stranger, for I have seen your future and danger awaits." But for a few coins, she continues while gripping your arm, I can tell you of your coming misfortunes. Well, let's pay 4 gold. We got the money. That almost certainly is going to get me the silver piece. You hand over the coin and they vanish into the woman's robes. She focuses on you, thinking for a moment, and tells you the outcome of your quest. Poor tidings. We're going to have pain and lose 3 food. Injury. We're going to have pain and lose 5 life. And then we're going to gain 3 food. And then we're going to gain 5 max life. That's not a terrible outcome, really. So, by doing that, it seems like we lost the opportunity to get the chip. So we should just go on the mayor's quest as planned. Suit yourself, the woman remarks, suddenly disinterested. She turns and enters the tavern to order her usual drink. Next day, you stride into the forest, intent on hunting down the brigands that have been harrying the town. Your quest gets off to a bad start. You lose your way, you get lost in the forest. Some brigands ambush you with a hail of arrows before slinking back into the forest. You come across a dead adventurer by the side of the road. There's no sign of what caused their passing, but she won't mind it if you put the remaining supplies to good use. You discover the brigands that have all been killed, evidently due to a cursed book they stole. You search the rest of the brigands' gear, finding a rare potion that extends life, a few dirty rags, and a pair of broken reading glasses. With the situation with the brigands resolved, you return to the village to collect your payment, only to discover that the mayor has left town on holiday for an indefinite time. Leave the small village without payment. So, if anything, that feels almost like a vertical slice of what the whole game is in itself. There was clearly several different lines of dialogue that could be played out in any order to justify the loss of food, the loss of life, and they played them very much just based on what had already been randomly decided. Seems to me like the move would have been to go on the adventure with while ignoring the soothsayer. That, I think, maybe would have made the most sense. You dash through the labyrinth of the slum streets in the city center. Maybe you should look to regain our strength at the wagon, Malcolm says. As you make your way through the winding roads, the peasants may have food to trade. Right. You dash through the labyrinth of slum streets in the center.
Some still fight, yet they must know their time is near.
The unmistakable sound of combat alerts you to a group of townsfolk being attacked by the infected. One brave warrior struggles to hold back the horde. You rush to their aid. Alright, so now we're going to do a fight. So I assume if one of the peasants die here, that's going to be a problem.
I'm no happier to be here than you lot.
What does this do? That's one more down. Particularly when we're using these slow button mashing mechanics of using an axe, which is a slow weapon, that really feels weird. So there are 7 corrupted remaining, so we're actually supposed to be killing corrupted too. You arrived just in time. The warrior explains, I don't think you could have held them off for much longer. I could part with some equipment, he continues. I don't think it'll do me much good now. See me if you're interested in the trade. So now more equipment is available. You explain Captain's Fiora plan and help the survivors on the wagon. Right. So we need to camp.
Do not take too long. The city
We're
falls
just low on
around
food.
you.
The head coachman tips the brim of his hood as you approach the wagon. I'll transport any people you find in the warrens of streets. He explains, just keep the wagon out of trouble. Okay. What artifact can I use? Let's inspect this. Let's see. Just restores 10 life when activated. Let's use it now. And then let's see what we can trade. The pious robes would give us Don't Starve, but it would require way more fame than what we have at the moment, so we shouldn't buy that. So instead we should buy food. And food is scarce, but incredibly cheap. Okay. Now we can't afford the pious robes. Goblin retainer, I guess is where we'll go. You can't really see the cards. Like, there definitely is something wrong with the angle that they're using here. It feels like what the table should have, like a partially reflective side where you could see the reflection of the narrator, and then the camera should be pointing more downward, not this downward, but just more so that you actually would have a chance of seeing the cards. They've done all this work to make a card game, and then they're not emphasizing the card game. It's kind of silly.
I can't determine whether you're the sort of person to put their faith in goblins, or merely the sort to give their actions no thought.
Let's see. Yet another event card. The towers in chaos. Alarm bells have the garrison soldiers in a panic as you watch a goblin with a hefty sack leaps from the window dangling from a makeshift rope. He bounces painfully off the wall as he lowers himself to the ground. The castle doors fly open. Guards assemble, armed and angered. The goblin blows his horn, discharging little more than a feeble hiss. I need a moment to recharge this. Help me. I'll split my takings. Before he can reply, he throws an item from his sack. Here's your retainer, he says. The guards rush forward, arrest them. They're with the goblin. So we have no choice. Again, yeah. Very rarely are the events giving us a choice to pick a side. We are just forced to fight one group or the other, and I guess that's probably for the better, because that does probably mean that you're not going to end up fighting the same kinds of enemies over and over again. We can take out. This is yet another interesting background area at the top of a tower. Hearing the shouts of additional guards, the goblin summons a portal and drags you in. The three of you fall through a seemingly endless tunnel, swallowing stars. Okay. Not sure what all the events here are. So I'm gonna just try and land on one without even knowing what it is. Let's see. We gained 25 gold. I probably was trying to target a death card. You see the goblin ahead, his sack tears open, his loot tumbles toward you. After what seems a lifetime, the portal releases you somewhere in the depths of the forest. You eventually find a path and continue on your way. Your majestic disappearing act has become the talk of the town. You gain 4 fame. And so we got that reward.
Surgery must be done with precision if it is to be effective.
Let's see. I guess if we're going to try and kill all the corrupted, we have to fight every time, and we've got plenty of health for that, which is kind of short on food. Find yourself surrounded by the corrupted horde that broke through the gatehouse and wandered into the district. They shuffle mindlessly back and forth, on the spot, limbs twitching, seemingly unaware of your presence. Let's ambush them. So, we're looking for the gold here. And that feels like that's going to be just impossible to do. You land several blows but fail to fell any infected. You deflect the retaliatory strikes. The rest of the infected turn and stumble toward you. Arms thrashing in agitation, you ready yourself for a second attack. Okay. Probably should just go for that silver success and not go for the gold. With a flurry of strikes, you fell the infected before they can retaliate. So the dealer removes 1 monster card. Alright, so now there will be 8. Despite your best efforts, the remaining infected close in. So, we could have gotten that down to 5 had we gotten both swings, and had we gotten gold done, it might have been even better. Does it really matter though? These guys are so slow that even with my axe attack, there's just no real concern here. And here we have yet another arena, yet another background. Our companion's not with us because he's exhausted from respinning the wheel of cards. But he would have only sped up the fight a little bit. Let's see. With the horde decimated, you resume your journey through the winding streets. You gain 4 fame. From the streets you can see other path. And there are now 0 corrupted remaining, which either means there are no corrupted remaining in this level, and there are multiple levels, or there are only 1 levels, which doesn't make enough sense because there's still a lot of citizens to save. Or you can add to the number of corrupted.
The stench of corruption flows across the cities, tainting everything it touches.
We bring word from Captain Fiore. A soldier explains with salute the infected horde at the next gatehouse has subsided. The dealer removes the corruption counter from the map. But there's a problem. Corruption grows from the ground itself, blocking all passage for the wagons. It must be destroyed. She asks that we join you in your efforts. The soldier continues, should you require our assistance, you only need to ask. So, we now have Estrella's legions, reinforcements prior to any combat, optionally drawn Empire ally card can be used before 5 combats or 7 if Estrella is your companion, didn't discard this card. So, alright. It does just feel like I need to continuously search the maps, though.
The shadow folk appear to have found your trail.
You follow frenzied rumors of vampires and werebeasts to a derelict farm deep into the lowlands. A thin farmer tilling the rocky soil looks up in desperate hope at your approach. Please, our little Timos was taken by a monster with bloody claws and gleaming eyes. It came through the walls. You pointed a shaky finger at the hills. Sure enough, you find a boy huddled at the back of a menacing cave. As you draw near, hulking cloaked figures emerge from the shadows to surround you. Hero, one of the beasts hissed. We knew you would take this simple bait. Now relinquish your power. You draw your weapon. Shadows can counter-strike. Light weapons are recommended. Let's see whatever we have as far as light weapons. This one. Okay, we'll equip that. And really can't do anything else. So we're going to fight 3 shadow beasts. And we don't have the weapon that actually would work around against Shadow Beast. I didn't think we would be fighting any. Yeah, the Shadow Beast DLC definitely is going to require you to play the Shadow Beast cards over and over again to get full use out of it. Otherwise it just kind of dilutes the experience for everything else. Which does highlight that there is a decent chance, had you not bought any of the DLC and played this game, that you would have a tighter, better scripted experience than if you do buy the DLC. And that there is a decent argument, and I've seen this with other games too, to play the game completely before you buy any DLC, then buy one piece of DLC each time to then experience that new DLC in a separate way, separated way. Are we going to call Australia Scouts to assist? Yes, because our assistant Malaclips is still exhausted. That may not really do much for us other than give us a character that fights alongside us. I wasn't expecting Shadow Beast to look like this. Shadow Disciple. Few humans have seen a Shadow Beast and lived to tell the tale. Disciples will induce blood madness, allowing them to cause high damage, attack them to interrupt their incantation. Right. These guys not particularly strong. And our assistant characters didn't have any special abilities as far as I could tell. Weeping the peasant falls to embrace his son. Thank the gods. Timos, thank the gods. Regain for fame. A small family gathers a dusty bundle of what they can in gratitude. Let's see. So we can have the pious robes now, which would prevent us from starving, or the Berserker card, which would give us extra gold, which we don't need, so definitely take the pious robes. We do have the required fame to wear that, or that one. We want to perform charged bash.
Lost simply to grant you comfort.
Let's see. I'm not sure what you do to actually do a charged bash, though. Bash is B. What gives you a charged bash? Is that a specific weapon that gives you a charged bash, or is it just any weapon can do charged bashes? Signs of mass departure are everywhere. Homes stand empty. All that remains are crumbling ruins. We now have more corruption. Let's ambush the corrupted again. No, we don't always have to fight everything we see. Malaclips whispers. You draw your weapon and prepare to take the group by surprise. Whoops. I was close there.
What an unfortunate time for your skills to leave you.
So do you recover?
Patience. Do not move too quickly, for haste breeds only failure.
Had I gotten gold the second time, I guess is my question. Let's go ahead and say yes. Yeah, I'm not sure what would have happened had we gotten gold the second time. Would it have removed the biggest card with the most amount of enemies, or would it have done something different?
By sea and Sark's fated bane!
Malaclips teleported himself. I didn't realize he could do that. Twice now I've failed to actually land the special finisher moves on the characters. And this is yet another different environment. Yet another. So I just got an achievement, apparently, called completing 3 combats without taking any damage in a single challenge attempt. And that's called Ninja. Which that makes me a little afraid that there might be an achievement for doing it 4 times or 5 times in a single event. This appears to be the last of Malcup's remarks. You continue your journey through the winding streets. You can see other paths now. So this is just getting further and further to see more and more areas.
Mages are hard to eradicate at the best of times. We have our ways of hiding from the light.
Following Malcup's cryptic directions, many of which involved borrowing farm animals, you arrive at the edge of a vast and lonely lake. There you uncover a cave entrance blocked by a stone door. You must seek out Ira of the Vale in the underneath, the bard had explained as you followed a frightened cow around the previous night. We could ask why we're seeking her out. Malcups drops his wine bottle nervously and forces a loud and hearty laugh, completely ignoring your question. The bespectacled ogre manning the door to the underneath doesn't look up from his book as you approach. 15 food items per your entry, he grunts. Malcups scoffs robbery. If you're trying to hustle us, sir, I'll have you know I can shoot lightning from my fingertips. Let's see, the door keeps eyes. Times are hard for us, Mal. You'll see when you get in there. Well, we don't have enough food. Malcups tries to wheedle his way in, but the ogre merely grips his club, threatening, and he desists. So to do the underneath, we're going to have a lot of food. Which we could camp while we're here and just see what we can do. Not much of anything. We buy billy clubs as an item.
One wonders how an inanimate object determines its sense of right and wrong. Let us hope they never turn upon you, or me.
Yeah, that didn't do me any good as far as trying to buy food. Wait, I don't know why I thought I could buy food. It hadn't said that they had refreshed the food purchase options. Anyways. Let's see, you dash through the labyrinth of the slums and street in the city center. You pass without incident. So why is it that the peasant's son and the soothsayer don't have corruption on them, but everything else seems like it does? That's the weird part. You know, the soothsayer and the peasant's son are event cards we picked. I guess maybe that's what it's indicating, is that every card with the corruption in the top right is an indicator of a card that the dealer added to the deck. Or Goblin Retainer wasn't added to the deck. Okay. So we can only really go here and here. And then it just seems weird. We're seemingly missing a whole bunch of citizens. Where did they all go? You happen upon a group of frightened peasants desperately seeking safety. We hear the Empire has abandoned the city. Please help us. We explain the plan. We save 8 citizens. We're grateful. The woman says as she steps to the carriage, I haven't much food should I need some, but So we can now buy more food if we camp. But it's probably not going to be that much food. Tall buildings line the street, their low windows boarded up. This is all the same text over and over again. There's nothing more to do. So... even buying all the food that's available here, that's not going to get us to 15 food. So there must be a whole nother level, otherwise at least one whole nother level, maybe two.
Further into the city, with more yet to be saved.
You smell the rotting flesh lingers in the air. The gatehouse tower looms over you, its side encrusted with the taint of corruption. The capital greets you as you approach. Weirdly, this does feel like this is the end of that mission. So, how was I supposed to save 60 citizens? Is there a way you can play these missions without adding any event cards of your own? Or do I have to find specific event cards that will give me citizens in this mission specifically? Both would be fairly obscure ways of solving it, but I don't know what the other trick here would be. Obviously there were enough cards to land on that could have given us citizens, but most of those cards didn't have any citizens. It just said they had already abandoned the spot.
The table has changed.
So did I need to move faster in real time, or did I need to move faster in the number of turns, or is it just a luck thing? I'm confused, very confused. It is as the scouts reported, Malcolm says, that corruption will block the path for the wagon. Now make haste, we'll protect the wagon with my scouts. You two clear the way. So we have a lot of enemies here we're going to attack. Draw your weapon and prepare to face the infected. And yes, we'll take some scouts with us. I don't think any of it really matters though. We've got a spire here. Corruption. The land itself has become shattered, shambling, and broken. It attacks with bursts of corruption that snare and damage their targets, used to evade to avoid their attack, and change direction rapidly to break free.
I hope this works.
So, it seems to me like the move is probably to power up and take on the corrupted that way. Get your hits in. Although fighting the corrupted section in the middle there may not really be that big of a deal. I don't know. So I wonder if you're supposed to just shield bash this more. Yeah, it seemed like that worked fairly well. To just press the B button and bash it. Maybe I should be bashing more things. Captain Fiore addresses you. You have a steady swing. Excellent, soldier. It will only be more difficult from here on. I bear no ill will towards you if you choose to leave now. Well, obviously we have to continue to the next district. As the captain scouts lead the wagon to the next district and seal the gates, you ascend the gatehouse tower.
What is it the towers will watch over? A stream of death and despair?
The tower provided a commanding view over a once impressive city. As you pause to catch your breath, you watch the last of the sun's rays disappear over the horizon. Malcolm shakes your shoulder and points over the battlements to the south. So that is final refuge. So that's where we're exiting. There you can see the final gatehouse, its tower rising from the wall of the old city to the south. The dealer adds a corruption counter to the map. Is that what that thing is on the final tower? Is a corruption counter? Did I let the city get more corrupted somehow, and I should have just immediately run to the final tower, defeated the corruption, then turned back and ran around the map to save citizens? Is that the trick? Have you ever seen so many Malcolm's remarks as you watch the infected swarm this city wall? How can the Empire let its people suffer so? Malcolm's mutters under their breath. Interesting. Is Malcolm's... I would assume he was a male character, but they're saying there. And then abandon those in need. Dealer adds more Blight Monster cards to the deck. As you continue to look, a small glow appears on the horizon beyond the city perimeter. First one, then another, and another. The Empire, Malcolm's cries. They are preparing to burn the city. We must get the people to safety. Let us hope we are not too late. Okay. So, again, the layout here is going to be go to city streets, go to city streets. We have rewards if we can get gold or silver. I was thinking the dice throws, the way to fix that would be to have kind of a dish that the dice were thrown in instead of them just being thrown on the table randomly. So yeah, I don't know if this little figurine is supposed to be the corruption counter or not. And I don't think this hourglass over on the side or this book on the side are supposed to really play any role. There are 40 corruption remaining that we would have to fight. We're in a fairly decent spot, I would say. The only real problems, I guess, would be the cards we have equipped, or the blessing here is about to, I think, run out. We have 2 more charges on that, which maybe we should have held on to that more. We have 8 food, which may be a little low, but we have plenty of valor and plenty of gold. Yep. And once again, I would say this mission feels very different from what we've seen before. Every single mission does have this nice feel that it is just taking a bit of a different twist around how one of these missions could play. Otherwise, I could see an alternate version of this game that was much more like the first Hand of Fate game, where it would be very repetitive and very simplistic as far as how each mission played out, that you would just go from point A to point B to point C and fight some boss at the end. Here we are given more freedom in the directions we go compared to the first game. We're giving different challenges for each mission. It is making me think more it's making me actually do deck building at the beginning, which I'm not sure that was even an option of something you could do in the first game. So I do feel like this is a nice incremental improvement. Maybe they should have taken a little bit longer to release the game, to maybe improve the fight mechanics or the graphics. But even if they were to make a brand new Hand of Fate 3 tomorrow, it probably wouldn't be too much different from Hand of Fate 2. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, and keep on watching. Thanks.